Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. 13 Republicans have essentially spit in the face of our president, Donald J. Trump, and voted with Democrats to end Trump's crackdown on fraud in federal work unions. And yes, we have the names, everybody. The U.S. House advanced bills to overturn a President Trump's executive order after 13 Republicans voted with Democrats. Voting 222 to 200, the House moved forward with ending Trump's crackdown on federal worker unions to root out the fraud. Guys, they're all trying to pull it back. Guys, I am blown out of my mind. And today, I cannot believe it, but I'm going to show you the most disgusting thing that's ever been said on the floor of Congress. It has been said today by a Democrat. We're going to show you the video. There's no middle ground with the Democrats that think like this, everybody. We're busting our butt, guys. We got some breaking news for you today. If you appreciate us, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. We also have where the approved, think about this, more fraud, more waste, more abuse. There was 3,095 PPP loans that were given during COVID, $333 million, and they were given to people between the ages of 115 and 157 years of age. Now, I don't know about y'all, but we don't have people living that long in the United States. I think there's one in India that's like 120, but that's it. But this just shows you, the more we dig, the more we find, the more fraud it is there. Almost 3,100 loans were given, and these loans are the ones that they don't have to pay back, everybody, but they're called loans. A third of $1 billion to people between the ages of 115 and 157. The Trump admin is also suing Georgia right now because the state reportedly has refused to turn over voter rolls. They said initially they would work and comply, but now they are officially shutting the doors. Trump said, okay, DOJ, go after them. We need to clean up our voter rolls. We need to know what's going on. The Fed has finally cut an additional 25 basis points or 0.25% off the interest rates. This has been a huge win for Trump and the economy. This is going to lower interest rates, more borrowing, more buying of housing, more loans for businesses. It's lifting the stocks. It's lifting the crypto. It's helping the economy. So finally, too late, Jerome Powell lowers it by another 0.25%. And today, big news, everybody. The House and the Senate will soon be voting on the new healthcare reform that has been pushed by the GOP and Trump to get rid of Obamacare and put money back into we, the people's hands. This powerful legislation would cut profits of the big healthcare companies by a 20% automatically, cut 20% automatically of their profits and funds given to them by the federal government. It would allow each individual receiving healthcare help from the government to receive a check in the form of $5,000 to $7,000 a year to help with their cost of their healthcare insurance. All that's happening today, guys, and a lot of support is getting behind it, because if you don't agree with this, then what you're telling the world is that I would rather give my money. This is the Democrats saying, I would rather give my money to big health insurance companies, let them make a profit, than to give it to you, the taxpayer, so that you can spend more on your health care. Tons of stuff today, guys, and I'm telling you, the videos that are coming out, again, we're going to show you the most disgusting thing that's ever been said on Congress floor. Showing you that today. Guys, a lot's happening. I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, to all of our members, subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. And to those that help us and support us in our giving, this is our big month, everybody. The 22nd of this month, we're donating live on stream to a local charity in the time of Christmas, helping out these kids that don't got homes, these orphans, guys. We're going to help them out. And again, if you're not part of the family yet, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, it really does help to grow our voice. Give some special love to Elaine Demeen, OG of the channel. Show Elaine some love in the chat, as well as Sheila Halstead. Welcome to the family, Sheila. Show Sheila some love, as well as our boy Chris Prez with the super chat and the 20 gifted memberships. Guys, if you got a free membership from Chris, show him some love in the chat. Thank you so much, Robert Cash. Thank you so much, our boy Richard with the 5 gifted memberships. Guys, thank y'all so much for the support. Show them some love in the chat. And don't forget, everybody, if you are going through a life change, if you're about to turn 65, or if you're moving, anything's happening with your life that's changing big, call Chapter. This is a free service to you. You've already seen our boy Chris Prez letting everybody know that when he called Chapter, they saved him $5,900, guys. That is insane in his healthcare. I want you to be blessed just like Chris. It's a free service to you. Call 667-895-3015. I promise you'll be blessed. This is for everybody that's on Medicare, about to turn 65, or going through a big life change. The number's at the bottom of the screen as in the description. Guys, go be blessed. Get your blessing like Chris. There's too many people that have saved thousands and thousands of dollars off this, and it's just such a blessing. But I want to show you this again, guys. The news today is so mind-blowing. It is so big. And it's just, we're going to expose this and show this so much because it just shows the Democrats have officially hit rock bottom. Listen to this.
Democrats are going down with the ship. The Somali situation is getting really sleazy.
Let's look at, Elon Omar, who was voted into power, voted into Congress by, a large group of people from Somalia who are in Minnesota, which is really far from Somalia. I don't know, we just don't want to turn into a, communist hellhole, basically.
Trump's just trying to stop the fraud and save us money. We should be able to agree on that, right? Wrong. Democrats want to arrest Trump, not the Somalis who stole $1 billion.
I think America, right now, we are in a defining moment in our state and in our country to stand up to what is happening. And what we're seeing is an actual authoritarian government take place.
You can tell a lot about a culture by looking at their heroes.
People are aware of the fact that you are the leader of the resistance. If the leader of the free world is a fool, the leader of the free world then should expect and examine every bit of ridicule he receives.
Kimmel accused MAGA of murdering Charlie. People say Omar married her brother. Shree's hitting impeachment like a crack pipe. Black Beto got snookered into running into a Texas chainsaw massacre, and Obama Claus doesn't even have the respect of the missus.
Let me tell you this, everybody. Right now, you have so much stuff happening behind the scenes, and I wanted to go ahead and show you this because these big things are happening on the GOP side. We are moving forward to go after these people. Trump admin is suing Georgia because the state reportedly refused to turn over voter rolls. And this right here, everybody, we're going to go ahead and show you is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard said by a Democrat on Congress, on the floor. And this just shows you where they're at, people. I'm telling you, this is so bad.
NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden.
This Democrat, Benny Thompson, just referred to the attack on the National Guardsman in D.C., where the guy literally took the National Guard's woman's firearm and shot her in the head as an unfortunate accident. This is how they think, everybody. And I hate it because we are supposed to be the United States of America. We're supposed to be able to work together. But when you see this, that somebody on the other side says that when two people were shot in cold blood and one was murdered in cold blood, they call it an unfortunate accident. There is no accident. They 100% hate us so much. The hate is so real that this is how far they're going to say this, everybody. And this is where, again, we have to bring out the truth. We have to expose this. And this is why I appreciate when you share our videos, you hit the thumbs up like button. Guys, thank you so much, because people need to see this, because this is not okay.
To find a cure. Bobby's on the naughty list.
RFK Jr. has got to go. Today I introduced articles of impeachment to remove him from office.
Mrs. Claus is MIA, so Maddow's playing substitute. And she gave 47 a big fat C. Coal.
Our country is doing some terrible stuff right now. Our country has done some terrible things in the past, but history will get you. If you are part of doing something that you know is wrong and that you know is unconstitutional and that you know is immoral, like many of the things that this administration is doing right now.
Don't you love it how they'll always say that they're doing this and they're doing that, but they'll never actually say exactly what is unconstitutional, what is immoral, what are they doing? This is, again, just trying to control the narrative and trying to put words out there, but never actually putting the facts or the truth to what they're actually saying.
Subsequent generations ashamed of you, you will spend the rest of your life denying that you did what you did, and we will out you.
The DNC boss is putting out a winter weather advisory. There's a 100% chance of precipitation.
I've always said being a chair at any level, whether you're a county chair, you're a state chair, or you're now a national chair, it's a political equivalency of being a fire hydrant, right? You get pissed down by everyone. You win by being a big tent, not a small tent, right? And sometimes that means things are messy in our party.
Everybody knows if there is a mess to clean up, you hire a commie. Black Beto loves her some Mondani.
Mondani has not backed down whatsoever from his rhetoric against the president. In the Oval Office, he stood there and he said what he said about him being a fascist, yet he was able to win those voters. So Democrats that believe the only way that you can win is by being soft and sounding like a Republican, that is not true.
Yeehaw!
Let me tell you this, everybody. I love bringing the facts. I love it when they talk about their socialistic leaders and whatnot. I want you to hear this, because, again, this is what matters. In this interview, you hear Mom Donnie, who's going to be the mayor over New York. Listen to what he says whenever they ask him about paying for the buses, the free buses in New York.
And the other one, you've been talking about fast and free buses and you're meeting with the governor. I've heard you talk about many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made, whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more. I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
And the other one you
So do you hear him? Well, what are you going to do to pay for the buses? We're going to raise the corporate tax. But the governor said no. Yeah, but it's not important. It's not the fact that we fund it. It's not a question of how we fund it. It's just that we do it. But where's the money going to come from? Guys, again, this is who's the leaders right now on the left side. They are living in la-la land right now, and they can't make up their dang minds. They want to tax everybody to oblivion, but we are showing you that they never really have a solid answer. All they want to do is just sell you something and never deliver. That's what the Democrats have been doing for so long, even to the black Americans. All along. Always promising this, and that, and never actually doing anything.
But are cowboys in the Lone Star State going to love the sound of Crockett?
She ain't never scared and
sorry,
she ain't
guys.
never...
Got this.
Republicans to put her over the top. But if any of those hats start tilting a little too MAGA, boy, they better get.
How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump's supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to.
Whoa, Black Beto just pulled a potatoes. Maybe potatoes doesn't need Republicans in California, but Crockett sure does need them in Texas. Hold your horses, babe. You're going to need a longer lasso. Week 1, and she's already riding on the race card.
I'm asking you to tune out those intrusive voices that say she can't win because she's black. because she's a woman or because she's a Democrat. If you believe women should be in all spaces, then I ask you to stand with me.
Crockett's a gift to Republicans. That's why they tricked her into running. Get this. Republicans pumped her up in online polls and then targeted Democrat voters and patched them through to her office to make it look like the whole state wanted her to run. And Crockett fell for the fake love, and she thought she had a shot in Texas. She wasn't even born and raised in Texas. The woman's flirted with reparations and no tax on blacks. That dog won't hunt, Jazz. The race card backfired on Kamala. She got run over by a garbage truck, and the world forgot about her. But Mama is refusing to disappear. She's already chiseling her own statue. Quote, "There will be a marble bust of me in Congress. I am a historic figure like any vice president of the United States ever was." She's bragging about her bust and thinks she's a shoo-in for the nom if she wants to run it back. Quote,
"Let me tell you this, guys. The Democrats, with what I'm about to show you next, the next two videos, this is what is causing them to lose the entire... They're going to lose. And we're going to make sure that everybody knows it. We're going to make sure that everybody sees it, because this is the truth right here. Even being laid down as a smackdown on CNN. Listen to this.
You can look at the chart of inflation over the last 50 years, right? And you'll see two big bumps. On top of those big bumps are Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. And those cliffs that fall off are Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Your dollar is worth 20% less right now today because of 21% CPI inflation under Joe Biden. Your wages are $3,000 less because your average salary and your real American wages went down by $3,000. That's a Joe Biden thing.
You hear that, guys? And you know what I love? Because whenever they talk about it and they say those things, I just love showing you the charts of what happened, that there's always this right in the middle, whether it's Jimmy Carter, whether it's Joe Biden. Where did the inflation come from? It came from these guys. And then I'm showing you again, guys, because this is something that is so needed for everybody to see, how important it is that people know where the Democrats stand when it comes to how they saw the National Guardsmen that got shot. This is from one of the Democrats, and it is, again, the most disgusting thing that's ever been said on Congress floor.
NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsmen being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get
Christy Noem said it was a terrorist attack.
this straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden.
I'm telling you, everybody, there's no way this dang party is gonna win whenever that's what they're talking about on their left side. And I want people to see that video. I want people to know that video, because that is, again, what we are facing. And again, it's not just that, it's rhinos on the inside, everybody. The U.S. House advanced a bill to overturn President Trump's executive order after 13 Republicans voted with Democrats, ending Trump's crackdown on federal unions. Guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, this is big news today. We're exposing everybody. Jeff Van Drew, Nicole Maliatakis, Nick LaLota, Brian Fitzpatrick, Rob Breshnanen, Don Bacon, Mike Lawler, Tom Keene, Ryan McKenzie, Zach Nunn, Chris Smith, Pete Stauber, and Mike Turner all voted with Democrats to try to pull back the digging and the auditing that Trump has been doing on the federal worker unions to root out the fraud. They are literally signing with Democrats saying, don't worry about the federal workers. Don't worry about the unions, because they're fine. There is fraud everywhere. And we're exposing it all right here on TrueLife News, and we're showing you the receipts, guys. But these are the names that voted with Democrats to overturn Trump's executive order. Chris Prez, thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, just to let y'all all know, I got 5,900 from Chapter, not 5,000. Thank you so much, brother. I'm telling you, that's a blessed, blessed company. Thank you so much. Show Chris some love in the chat. Also for giving 20 True Life News memberships. If you got a free membership from Chris, show him some love in the chat, as well as our boy Robert Cash said, God bless America and all of you. Salvation is real. John 3:16. Amen. Our boy Richard with the 5 gifted memberships. Show Richard some love in the chat. PDX67. Thank you so much, Chris, who said, don't forget about what Jesus said about what happens to people who harm the children. Google will not let it through. Guys, I'm telling you, show Chris some love in the chat, as well as Milton Burns. Our boy Jim Barbato, OG of the channel. Show Jim some love in the chat with my favorite GIF. Thank y'all so much, guys. Show him some love in the chat. This is big because, again, what I'm about to show you next, this is flat out the corruption that's happening in Congress, that's happening across the board, that we are trying to expose, everybody. Sorry, one second. Let me pull this over. We have to fight against this. Listen to this.
Edition of the War Room. If you haven't noticed, we're at war in this country to make sure that we repel the 15 to 20 million illegal alien invaders that came in on Biden's watch, that were brought in on Biden's watch in a highly sophisticated, coordinated effort. And you still have the Democrats beating the drum of diversity as our strength. That's absolutely incorrect. Our strength is American citizens, the broad shoulders of American citizens.
Boom.
In this constitutional republic, and the folks that got us here, and the giants on the shoulders of which we stand today. And all of these people making the excuses that, oh gosh, they've been here for 6 months and they don't have a traffic ticket. It doesn't wash. They're all going home. If they don't go home, if they're not sent home, if they're not forced out of here, you don't have a country. Because it's going to happen over and over and over again, and that's what they want. And the problem here is not just the illegal alien invaders, it's the phony legal immigration system we have, all of which is targeted American citizens and American workers to make your life harder, to drive your wages down, to make it unduly competitive. Not that you don't mind competition, but you don't need to invite the world in to compete with you and essentially in your home country, which you sacrificed, and people that came before you and your family have sacrificed so much for. This is outrageous. Every place that ICE goes to start the deportations, and now it's in Minneapolis, there's a massive fight. These sanctuaries, the business model of the radical Democratic Party, which is not even, I believe the Democratic Party is as close to a terrorist organization as you can get. And if we start doing the real investigations of this, they will be designated a terrorist organization, what they've done to the United States.
Wow.
They plotted more so even than Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, right? And all these Islamic radical terrorist organizations, which are bad enough, and we got to get to the bottom of and get them out of the country. These people organized an invasion of our country. We got 15 to 20 million illegal alien invaders here.
Yes.
That have destroyed the country, destroyed the economy, have destroyed the education system, particularly in inner cities for folks, destroyed the education system, the healthcare system, law and order, sanitation. And they specifically brought in people that would not acclimate to our culture and our society and could not be assimilated, did not want to be assimilated, and were going to be arrogant about how they were not assimilated.
And I want to show you this too, everybody, because again, what he's about to say next goes into the fraud, the waste, the abuse. You cannot make this stuff up. What has come out in Congress today with your tax dollars, this again is the worst thing, that you can't even make this stuff up of how bad they stole from the American taxpayers.
For over a decade, I've been exposing egregious Washington waste with my monthly Squeal Awards. Some examples are too outrageous to believe. I'm talking about bureaucrats approving PPP loans for applicants who used pictures of dolls for IDs. Imagine giving Barbie or Ken a taxpayer-funded loan. Not only that, but they also believe folks claiming to be over 150.
So again, if you didn't hear that, sorry, because the screen messed up. The people that submitted the applications for these loans of millions and millions of dollars use Barbie dolls as the picture for them to submit to get these loans, and it was approved. Don't tell me there's no dang corruption and fraud right there, guys. We're literally showing you the evidence.
15 years old were alive and well enough to be approved for 3,095 PPP and EIDL loans worth $333 million, including $36,000 to a 157-year-old. That's pure hogwash. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. Instead of boosting Main Street, millions of your tax dollars were wasted through USAID to fund Iraqi Sesame Street. And this one is unacceptable. Improper payments or the government tossing cash into the wrong trough have become commonplace. In fiscal year 2024, federal agencies shoveled out $162 billion in improper payments. The most frustrating part is how simple it is to stop this waste.
Wow.
A report by the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee found that $79 billion in potential COVID fraud could have been prevented if 4 basic questions were asked. 1, is the applicant's Social Security number valid?
Wow.
2, if valid, does the name connected to that number match the name on the application?
Yeah.
3, does the birthday match? And lastly, is the individual alive? Seriously, folks. $79 billion, everybody, would have been saved if just those 4 questions were asked. Again, this is why they say we're in a civil war. This is why Bannon says it was intentional. They're working on, the DOJ is just, imagine all the fraud, the waste, and abuse we're trying to find. And we're barely scratching the surface with how much was stolen from you and I, the taxpayer. And we're exposing it all here in True Life News, guys. Jim Barbato, thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. Let's go. Robert Cash said, bless all the children, protect them from evil. Show Robert and Jim some love in the chat, everybody, as well as our boy Chris Prez, OG of the channel. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. This is, again, what he's about to say. We have to expose them, blow this up, because people need to see the truth.
And you can sit there. You need to see what you see. Look at New York City. New York City, because of foreign-born individuals who knows how they got here and who knows what their status is, you have a Ugandan Marxist jihadist as mayor. And President Trump was talking about Sadiq Khan yesterday. President Trump, Sadiq Khan is terrible and turned London into an awful place. But Mandami is Sadiq Khan on steroids. And he's now the mayor-elect, if we don't denaturalize him, which we could, of New York City. And let me pivot back to what needs to be done. More action, tougher action, more urgent action, 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 action. The midterms, all this ringing into the hands, and yes, it looks tough. Polling's not great, but big deal. Have we not had in the history of this movement long odds? Have we not had in the history of this movement a couple of cloudy days? Have we had in the history of this movement times when it looked like it was tough? Do you guys remember January of 2021 and February of 2021 and March of 2021? And 22 and 23. You remember the day that President Trump, they found him guilty of 35 felonies? Going to sentence him to jail. Do you remember all that? The odds look long. Was the DeSantis crowd laughing at you? Was Fox News laughing at you? Were the Democrats, they had the director's chairs up there with Rachel Maddow and all that crowd up there in front of New York City. They in front of Jack Smith's when they were bringing people in, laughing in your face. Did odds not look long then? Yes, they did. They looked impossibly long. That's what the Europeans say it today. Nobody thought Trump was coming back. That's why they treated Trump like dirt. That's why they treat.
And I'm telling you, everybody, this right here is so real. I want to remind you, I hope you appreciate this. If you do, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button. The U.S. House advances bill to overturn a President Trump's executive order after 13 Republicans voted with Democrats. Trump is trying to crack down on all the fraud, waste, and abuse. And one of the ways he was cracking down on the federal worker unions was, is the federal government overpaying? Is our money going to what it's supposed to be? Let's crack down. Let's check it out. Well, guess what? That was through an executive order. 13 Republicans voted, hey, we don't need to be investigating the federal worker unions. We don't need to be auditing the federal worker unions. And that's literally what they just said right here when they voted against Trump's executive order. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because again, the fraud, the waste, the abuse is so real across the board. And even this right here, because everything's happening today, guys, when it comes to the Medicare cost, healthcare cost, Obamacare, a lot of this stuff is about to change, all right? If you look at this chart right here, look at the medical cost, before medical cost inflation. If you look at the monthly insurance premiums in dollars, it's around $200. And then you look at the administrative costs, it's about $50. Okay, so it's $250 on average. Then you fast forward after inflation, after the Biden crisis and all this. Now you have doubled both the medical costs and inflation cost. This is how insurance companies are profiting from you and I. And all this stuff that's changing, it's all being funded by the taxpayer into these healthcare companies and not putting the taxpayer, the actual person who's paying into it, first. And this is why, again, everybody, when we look at what's happening with Medicare in 2026, premiums are going up by 10%. If you are going through any life change, if you're turning 65, if you're going through any life-changing, moving, job change, anything like that, I want you to call this company right here, Chapter. This is a free service to you. It has been so amazing, such a blessing to so many people on this channel who saved thousands of dollars on their health insurance by calling this company. And what I love is that it's free. Because when I show you this, that there is literally 5,600 Medicare plans available nationwide in 2026. You want to make sure you get the right one. They compare every single plan with their software. They know what's happening in the new year with premiums going up. So don't miss out on your blessing. Call them up. We've already had Chris Prez, who's already shown that he saved over $5,900 just by using Chapter. The number is 667-895-3015. Go get your blessing, guys. Let them know that Joel from TrueLife News sent you. Jim Barbato, thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. Let's go. Show Jim some love in the chat, as well as our boy Joghaz said, when are we going to get action? Let's go. 1 year, no prosecutions. Amen. We need action right now. That's why with what I'm about to show you that's happening in Congress, this is where we're finally asking the hard questions. Listen to this.
Are we all in the database? Every single person, every single American?
Yes.
Yeah, this database is huge, right? They're getting information on foreigners, but we're all getting swept up in this. So this is one giant, I call it the giant haystack of information. And you got 10,000 people at the FBI who can just, I'm going to search on Mr. Tolman, on Miss Goyton. I'm going to search on whoever I darn well want. And they've demonstrated that they can't police themselves. Whatever the agency is, whatever rules they have, they can't police themselves. So this is why Congress has to do it. And why not use the tried and true rule? That to me is like, this is how big this is. I want to go down through a couple things here that have been raised. First of all, to gentleman from Tennessee's questions, and getting people's toll records. I do have a concern with this because some of this was done for a long period of time. Mr. Smith went and got the toll records subpoenaed from the carriers, the toll records of the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And frankly, he waited until Mr. McCarthy became Speaker of the House to go get his toll records from 3 years prior. And the real concern I have with that is they did it for a 2-month time span. So to Ms. Goytin's statement, you can pattern someone's life. You can figure out all kinds of things. Because they knew who Mr. McCarthy called, who called him, when the call took place, how long it lasted. And if Kevin initiated the call, they knew where he was at when he did so. Well, Shazam, you can figure all kinds of things out. So that's the concern when they do this. And we need to, I think, frankly, look at that. That's why this committee passed the non-disclosure, the gag order. So that's the other thing. They get that information and then they tell the judge, they go to the judge, tell the carrier, tell AT&T that they can't tell the customer that the government just got their phone logs for 2 months, can pattern their life and know all that stuff I just talked about, that's a concern. And so we've passed legislation on this committee, we hope it passes the House here soon, which puts limits and restrictions on that, not just for members of Congress, of course, but again, to everyone. I think that's a good piece of legislation.
Let me tell you this, everything that he just said, I love bringing the facts to you, everybody, and I love showing you what's actually happened, because all this stuff that they were doing, all the spying, all the looking at records and all this stuff, when Pam Bondi, when Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General, got into office, got their positions at the DOJ, okay, in the Attorney General's office, listen to how many people resigned and quit because they know that they were part of all this lawfare. Listen to this.
And then I said, we're going to be changing our priorities in each of your sections, and we're going to take the lead from the White House and the president's executive orders. And so we're still going to enforce all of these laws, but through a different lens than what you've been doing. So please put your pencils down, make sure that the work that you're doing is consistent with this direction. And if it isn't, we're going to need to change it. And you may recall that at the same time, the Doge folks working with OMB had offered severance packages to government officials who perhaps wanted to use this opportunity to go do something else with their lives. So in the case of DOJ folks, they were offered 5-month packages, just, for your average lawyer with some tenure there. It's a 6-figure lump sum. So more than half the lawyers in the Civil Rights Division reacted to these memos by quitting.
Right.
And
more than half quit just by saying, hey guys, we're going to be doing things a little bit different here. We want accountability. We want to make sure we're doing the right way. This is literally more than half quit.
that was what, about 400 of them? Well, there were over 400 lawyers, so more than 200 quit. Right. And then since that time, another close to 100 have quit. I mean, it's like not quite 75%, but maybe approaching 70% have quit. And they did it in phases, and I think there was some denial, and they had crying sessions together, and they had
because you asked them to obey the law
and
just follow what the democratically elected president's priorities were.
And frankly, it was shocking to them. They had unhappy hours.
Do you see this? Over almost, I think she said around 70 to 75% of the the Attorney General lawyers in the offices quit because she said, hey guys, we're actually just going to follow the law. We're going to be led by President Trump. And they're having crying sessions, and over 70% quit. And this is all just showing you the uniparty, all this stuff that's happening, guys, has literally been an attack from within, exactly how Trump said it, on Americans' freedoms.
Should we pass, Mr. Tolman? I'll come to you.
It's essential.
Yeah, it's essential. Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So we got the Indio issue. Mr. Raskin and I were talking about these areas of concern with privacy. We have the third-party data, purchasing data. This what we call the Fourth Amendment's not for sale, because if you can buy stuff that would otherwise require a warrant, you shouldn't be able to do that. So we got to do some work on that issue. Then there's the fundamental question we're asking for FISA 702. Go get a warrant before you get the ability to search people's. And then there's this compilation of data. And so I'm just interested, any thoughts you have on, should we're trying to strategize, the ranking member and I and the committee, how much do we try to put in 702? Do we do separate legislation? We're trying to figure that out too. But I'm just curious, any thoughts that you would have? Maybe we'll just go down the line. So let's start with the Democrat, or let's go 18, and then we'll move across.
Yeah, I think you really can't address Section 702 in isolation, because Section 702 is part of a vast ecosystem of often overlapping surveillance authorities. And if you cut off one avenue of surveillance, the government might be able to turn to another, or to exploit gaps in this network of laws to conduct surveillance without any statutory authorization.
You think we should try it all together?
Well, it's not that. Frankly, there's a lot you could address, and we're not really talking about everything here. I think the 4 reforms that have been specified here today are certainly a good place to start, right? And that is a warrant or a Title I order for backdoor searches. That's closing the data broker loophole, fixing the electronic communication service provider definition, and shoring up the role of amici in the FISA court.
Thank you.
I agree with Ms. Goitian that at least for the purposes of FISA that we want to focus on those 4 key reforms because I think that those are the most promising things that we can get addressed. And then for the other kinds of things that you're highlighting, there are other vehicles that we can go and explore in terms of pushing forward.
And I would not limit yourselves to FISA reforms written narrowly. As you all are much more aware than we are, there are only limited windows when legislation can actually get passed by both chambers and signed by the president. And those don't come along all that often. And I think it's important to take advantage of them when they do.
Thank you.
I would just lastly say, why aren't they capable of self-governing in this area? And we have to remember, post 9/11, we shifted the FBI and the Department of Justice's overarching mandate to intelligence gathering for national security purposes. So once you do that, their mentality is not to self-govern.
$12 billion we give to the FBI. That's their budget. Over half of it is used on the surveillance stuff. Versus, I mean, you go talk to average American, they would say like, what? I thought the FBI was supposed to be going after traditional bad guys, not spying on Americans. So you're exactly right. That is a problem. One last thing, and I know I'm a little over time.
Guys, let me tell you this. This is why this is so real, because when you get people in Congress that they cannot self-govern, they literally have to be governed by another body because they go rampant, they spend like crazy, they don't do the job that they were actually hired to do. Now, a lot of Americans are now demanding that this guy resign after he claimed that the unvetted Afghan shooting our National Guardsmen's in the head was an accident. Unfortunate accident. Like, what is wrong with you? This dude grabbed the lady who he shot first, grabbed her firearm, and then literally shot her in the head. Like, this is, again, the point where you cannot negotiate. Guys, if you appreciate what we're bringing today, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, this just fires me up because people need to see this. They need to hear this. You cannot say that. It was not an accident. It was a terrorist attack. It was intentional. It didn't just happen to happen like maybe when you're walking down the street and there's ice and you just accidentally fall. No, intentionally he did this. And this is why, again, all the stuff that's happening in Congress right now, guys, I am so fed up with how people have not been held accountable, how we have constantly had to fight the narrative. Because all they keep doing is what? Lying across the board. And especially with fighting over this healthcare today, I want you to hear from the people that are actually making a grand stand. Melanie, hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said for the charity this month. Thank you for the work you do on this channel. Amen. Thank you so much, Melanie, for your support. Show Melanie some love in the chat, everybody. As well as Nadine Jones. Said, here's for the children. Thank you for bringing the truth to the light. Love this channel. Appreciate you so much, Nadine and Melanie. We cannot thank y'all enough. Show them some love in the chat, everybody. And don't forget to show our boy Chris Press some love in the chat for his gifted memberships. Guys, listen to this because I'm telling you, everybody that's a voter needs to see this.
Mr. President, for months, our Democrat colleagues have been fear-mongering about our health care system. You know, they've blamed everyone but themselves for the skyrocketing premiums Americans are dealing with today. The truth is, Obamacare absolutely destroyed our health care system. It is completely unaffordable. As a result, American families are now paying the enormous price for Barack Obama and woke Democrats' Obamacare system. Sure, the idea of Obamacare sounded great. Who doesn't love the idea of free health care? But those of us who live in reality or understand basic economics knew this was never, ever going to work. Which is why not a single Republican voted for it in the Senate or the House when it was voted on. You see, Obamacare was always destined to fail. You can't pump billions of dollars into health care and not expect rampant fraud to take place. It's not possible. Nevertheless, woke Democrats rammed it through Congress, and it was signed into law by President Barack Obama on March the 23rd, 2010. It was the biggest overhaul of our health care system since Medicare and Medicaid in 1965. On paper, it sounded great. expand access, protect people with pre-existing conditions, and make insurance cheaper for families without employer plans. But to no one's surprise, what started as a bold Democratic dream of affordable coverage for all, it turned into a bloated mess. In fact, the only winners of Obamacare are the big insurance companies who are getting filthy rich on the taxpayers' money. Meanwhile, Americans are spending thousands of dollars on premiums for coverage that often doesn't cover their needs. And Americans can thank 9 of my current Democrat colleagues who voted yes on that final passage. December 2009, Senator Murray, Cantwell, Wyden, Merkley, Schumer, Gillibrand, Coons, Durbin, Sanders, Tammy Baldwin, who was in the House at the time. These Democrats jammed this through with not a single Republican vote, ignoring real concerns about how the system would limit competition, leading to lower standards of care, or how it would line the pockets of big insurance companies while forcing hardworking Americans to pay high premiums, or how it would decrease transparency, leading Americans who often leave the doctor's office not having a clue how much money they owe when they leave, or how rural hospitals would be forced to close their doors and doctors and nurses would be leaving the medical field because they couldn't make a living. But that didn't care about any of this. They didn't care about any of it because they always knew we would end up today in the position we are. 15 years later, they knew costs would become unaffordable for Americans. They knew that. But they were just fine with that because their end goal is to have socialized medicine paid for by American taxpayers, which, by the way, has not worked anywhere in the world. They have terrible health care when they do that.
And I want to show you this too, everybody, because again, the numbers don't lie. Everything that we show you, the expectation, the trade deficit, what's happening with all the stuff on the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, Social Security deduction, all this, no tax on American-made car loan interest, all this stuff right here. Listen to this.
Senior deduction, you have to be 65 years old. It phases out at $75,000. But again, for people who are saying gas prices, which are lower, but that food prices are higher, that it's hard for them, that might help as well. There's a no tax on car loan interest. Now, that can be helpful, but what might be even more helpful is what they announced last week, which is they're doing away with some of the EPA rules on these car and fuel mileage. That actually will help bring the cost of cars down, probably even more. And then a child tax credit expansion, that's very senior deduction.
So again, guys, just remember that all the while, the inflation, the Obamacare, all this stuff that's happened, and we're showing you this right here, don't let the media lie to you. Know the truth. This was a chart from 2021 from the IRS. They say, make the rich pay their fair share. Okay, well, what do you mean by that? Because if you look at it, the top bar is the share of all income earned. The top 1% earn 26% of all the money in the United States. The top 1%. They pay 46% of all the taxes that are taken in the country. Okay? Let me take it a little bit step further. The top 5%, just think about it, the top 5% of the United States earners, that accounts, they earn 42% of all the income. Think about that. They earn 42% of all the income within the United States. The top 5% of people. They earn 42%. They pay 66% of all the taxes paid into the system. If you look at the bottom, the top, we live already in a progressive society when it comes to the rich paying their fair share. They already pay a ton of taxes. Why do you think nothing ever changes? Guys, this is so important for you to see because, again, as we show you what the Democrats have tried to do with Obamacare, with health care, all it is lining the pockets of the lobbyists, of the rich people. But when you look at all the fraud, look at this. 6.4 million fraudulent enrollees in Obamacare. Do you realize how much billions and billions of dollars that is? It is massive. Patrick Trebet, thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. Let's go. My favorite GIF, show our boy Patrick Trebet, OG of the channel. Some love in the chat. And guys, if you don't mind, doing us a huge favor of hitting the thumbs up like button. This right here is the stuff that all you see is, oh my goodness, Republicans are taking away healthcare. Republicans are for the rich. All this stuff. Guess what? Republicans and Democrats alike have had the House, the Senate, and the presidency in the past 50 years at some point or another. And guess what? We still have the taxes the way that they are. But this right here is just fraud on the Democrats' watch.
Obamacare was just the first step towards free health care for all. The first step. To start, Obamacare created state-federal marketplaces where individuals could shop for coverage. These marketplaces were intended to be online for health plans. By the way, if you remember this, they spent about $10 billion and couldn't get the healthcare website going, but we wasted all this money. When they launched this, it just crashed. People couldn't use it for weeks, months. It cost us hundreds of millions of dollars daily. That was a foreshadowing of the disaster to come, if you just think about it.
And what I love, guys, is it's every guy, and I appreciate this because, again, too, we've got it across the board. All the big shots, big MAGA, are all fighting against this today, and it is beautiful. Listen to this.
Positives I just heard. The truth is that, yes, more competition in healthcare is going to be critical to deliver affordable care to consumers. And that's something I think which is a very bipartisan statement. I think both sides of the aisle can agree on that. I think one of the things that was also just acknowledged is that the entire purpose of the Affordable Care Act was not the Affordable Care Act. It was to take the United States towards single-payer health care. That was the design 15 years ago. So the American people need to understand the reason why costs are rising in health care and in health insurance is by design by congressional Democrats at the time and by then President Barack Obama. They did want a public option. They wanted to put a public option in the Affordable Care Act that was going to be lower cost than what their own regulatory framework would allow in the private markets. The only reason they didn't get the public option is because they didn't have the votes. A guy named Scott Brown won a Senate election in Massachusetts. I know that sounds crazy today, but he did, and it stopped them from actually pushing forward with the public option, which, by the way, its entire design was to move America towards single-payer healthcare. The arc of history in healthcare needs to be clear on this point. Single-payer healthcare does not work. It never will. Because to the point of my colleague from the other side of the aisle, single-payer is the very definition of vertical integration of the healthcare system, which will not lead to lower costs for the American people. But I digress. Mr. Jacobs, you referenced that a single Social Security number was linked to over 26,000 days of subsidized healthcare coverage across more than 125 insurance policies in 2023. What mechanisms can be put in place to detect and prevent this level of exploitation of taxpayer funds, and what underlying vulnerabilities contributed to this abuse?
Yes, Mr. Donalds, that's correct. And the Government Accountability Office report that was released last week was just one of many data points suggesting that there are significant amounts of improper enrollment and potential fraud on the exchanges. I think some of it is driven by, there are certainly rogue agents and brokers that have been acting, and CMS, both under the Biden administration and certainly under the Trump administration, have acted to crack down on that. I think eliminating zero premium plans, I think, is a matter of good policy that I think regardless, we should be asking everyone to pay at least a little bit of something towards their health insurance every year.
Jacob, not to cut you off, but I want to acknowledge something that you just said. In your opinion, do zero premium plans lead to fraud and abuse?
I think without a doubt, the system responds to incentives. And we've only had zero premium plans for the past few years under the enhanced subsidy regime. And we've seen that the concerns about improper enrollments, whether it's CBO or CMS with the data regarding zero claim enrollees in exchange coverage, all of them have been pointing to increased incidents of improper enrollments and fraud.
Okay, thank you for that.
But you know what? I just want to let you know, everybody, remember, did the Democrats propose any changes? Did the Democrats propose that anything be audited? Did they say, hey, we need to make sure that we really are not wasting any of the taxpayer money? We're making sure we're not going to spend any more just money on just fraud, waste, and abuse with people that do not want to that are trying to steal from the taxpayer. Can we just do something? Nothing from the Democrats. All they wanted to do is say, slap another $200 billion into Obamacare, and let's just really focus on doing what? Just keeping it alive. Guys, you're hearing it for yourself, how badly these systems are run, and the Democrats don't want to do nothing. I want to show you this right here, because this is just, again, news that came out just moments ago, literally minutes ago, of how powerful the policies are with Trump. The United States trade deficit plummeted 53% over the past year under Trump's tariffs. In November 2024, our trade deficit, if you don't know what that means, that's how much money did we lose? $367 billion in 2024. This year, only $193 billion. We are bringing that down so much. This is how we get to stop spending so much dang money, stop losing more of the hard-earned taxpayer dollars. It's by having people that know how to run dang businesses and are not career politicians who's always lived off the taxpayer and have never actually had to produce a result. Guys, because that's the number one thing. When you are running a private business, you have to perform or else you get fired. You lose clients, you don't have a business. With the government, when you don't do a good job, guess what? Nobody cares because there's so much going on. There's trillions of dollars coming in. There's no oversight. This is the difference between having somebody that knows how to build an economy versus somebody who read a book or is being told by a lobbyist what to do for that lobbyist's benefit.
Mr. Obermeyer, if artificial intelligence becomes significantly integrated into medical practice, what impact should we expect on the healthcare workforce?
I think what we've learned from the history of automation and technology adoption is that it doesn't necessarily eliminate jobs. It actually changes the nature of those jobs. So doctors will start to need to interact with these tools and learn from them. And I think they'll start to augment the capabilities of especially nurses, community health workers, and others who can now have access to cutting-edge technology applied to the data from patients to help them make better decisions.
Real quick, and a quick follow-up to that. Do you think that the Affordable Care Act's regulatory framework allows for this type of internal innovation in the healthcare system?
I don't know about the ACA specifically. I think right now there are not very strong incentives for a lot of health systems to adopt this AI technology. I think the Access program that was recently announced from CMS is a good start in that direction by incentivizing preventive care augmented by technology. But I think that government programs can do more by, for example, creating payment codes for AI technology that drives lower costs, higher value care, and even detects the kinds of fraud, waste, and abuse that you mentioned earlier.
Well, look, I'm all for efficiency. One of the things I do have a concern about is I hear that, yes, AI is being used in some respects in healthcare, a lot of it for upcoding, as opposed to pushing for efficiencies. And I think it's a major issue that we definitely have to get our heads around, both here federally and at the state level. Chairman, if I might indulge, I did want to ask a quick question of Ms. Tripoli. I know I was hearing your dialogue with one of my colleagues earlier about affordability. I recognize everybody has a concern about it. Honest question, do you really think that a centralized healthcare system will lead to efficiencies and lower costs for the American people?
I think there are a lot of different models to get to a universal system of coverage that make sure that every person in the country has access to the affordable, high-quality healthcare and the health that they deserve. In any of those systems, you have to actually adjust the incentives and the way that prices in the healthcare system are set. And whether you're in the current system we have now or some future system, the reality is that the biggest drivers of our affordability crisis in this country on healthcare are the massive consolidation from corporate health systems, from insurance plans to drug companies to hospital chains. And so in any universal system of coverage, that issue has to be addressed. And of course, most immediately, if people can't afford care, then they can't access care. And before us right now, there's a decision about extending the enhanced premium tax credits, and we urge the Congress to act on that.
This is a joke, everybody. Let me tell you, you know what increases healthcare? I love showing you the receipts, guys. You know what increases healthcare is whenever you have people that don't pay into the system that get more healthcare because they're unhealthy, they don't take care of themselves, they don't exercise, they don't eat right, they eat junk food, and they're not healthy, and it puts a drain on the healthcare, especially when they're not paying in. This is happening all across the United States. Look at this right here. This is welfare use rates by household in Minnesota. For Somali immigrants, 81% of Somali immigrant households in Minnesota, 81% are on welfare. Medicaid, 73%, everybody. And again, this is how you drain a healthcare system. And if you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, we're just showing you the receipts today because, again, right now, we have it where they just voted in the House. The Senate, U.S. Senate, has rejected the Republican proposed Obamacare solution that gives the money directly to the American people in HSA accounts. So instead of us giving it to these healthcare insurance companies, we want to give it directly to the people. Makes sense, right? That way, if they can choose who they want. The Dems literally just voted and beat the Republicans 51-48. And one of the GOP members that was a no was Rand Paul, who says he wants the ACA gutted even further. They need 60 votes. The Democrats are the party of the big, rich insurance, everybody, and you're seeing it right here. Instead of giving it to the American people, they voted to give it to, again, to the health insurance companies instead of letting people choose which one works best for them. This is mind-blowing. This is what people need to see. And that's why we appreciate so much when you share our videos, when you like our videos, because, again, as we are ramping up in the economy, all this stuff matters of what's going to happen, where we at with the Fed, and where Trump is at when it comes to doing what's best for the American people. Listen to this.
Stand, you schmuck, you know?
Thoughts?
I would say that to Jamie Dimon.
I know you would.
About lowering borrowing costs for Americans when the Fed cuts, because credit card rates broadly have not come down since the Fed started cutting last September, and the Fed's already cut 1.5 percentage points. And really, the same applies for, and this is broadly speaking, say auto loans, that the lenders have not passed on that savings to the American consumer, and that's where the affordability problem is showing up. It's in borrowing costs and the cost of credit for everyday Americans, because to keep up with the inflation, they were adding more debt, and then the Fed cut rates, because that really is the inflation part you're talking about. It's not goods inflation, it's the inflation of the cost of credit, and it has not been passed on to them, Jamie Dimon. We'll see how that translates. A few things, and we're going to be talking about this as the show moves on. Worth noting, Nick Timrose from the Wall Street Journal, this meeting is a little different because this is the one time where all 19 people, not just the 12 people who are voting on the Federal Open Market Committee, have an opportunity to anonymously and, he said, softly dissent, where they get to weigh in on essentially what has happened over the previous year, whether they agree or don't agree with what has gone on in all of the Fed decision making. And looking at longer term interest rates, when I looked at them this morning, they pulled back a little bit, but 4.2 was where the 10-year has what was earlier today, but longer-term interest rates have gone up since the Fed started cutting rates last September. So they're 4.17 at the moment, and the yield curve continues to steepen. Usually, longer-term interest rates throughout history will fall as the Fed begins to cut. And in this instance, it has not happened. And so normally, if you go back and look at the cycle that started in 2001, 2007, 2019, and then 2020, short-term interest rates go down with the Fed and longer-term interest rates ultimately fall, but not this time. Why is it? It's probably, well, because inflation is still around, and the federal government is out of control in terms of borrowing. And I just point to the bailout, the $12 billion bailout for the farmers. We borrowed that money.
Yeah.
So I would say that when you're looking at the slope of the yield curve, the difference between short-term and long-term interest rates, two components, inflation and growth. Okay, this is the first time we're looking at a year where you realistically could have 4% GDP growth next year. Okay, that's not coming out of a massive recession. All these other rate cutting cycles have been into economic deceleration. So there's been a flight to quality. So in that flight to quality, you want as much duration or as much interest rate sensitivity as possible. That's not the case right now. And I don't know that for consumer borrowing rates, that long-term rates need to go down. I think you need more bank balance sheet availability. Banks have been stressed since Silicon Valley Bank. Right? It's been a knock-on effect. There was a big problem in the repo market, which I thought caused the sell-off in these risk assets and Bitcoin that we had going into this government shutdown. The Treasury General Account went from $600 billion to $1.1 trillion. So if the Fed bought $500 billion worth of bonds in a 6-week period, that would boost stocks. Okay, works the other way. And so I think as short-term rates coming down, you're going to increase net interest margins. Okay, and you're going to see more bank balance sheet availability. With more bank balance sheet availability, there's more room for asset-backed loans, autos, and credit cards. It should push these rates down. We'll see if that ends up happening.
This has been going on since last September. They have not passed on the lower borrowing cost to consumers.
Yeah, but you still have a stressed repo market, and if we move like by this, there's definitely a lag to that for various reasons. But if the short-term rates a year from now are 2.75, okay, you're going to see a lot more bank balance sheet availability. And the other aspect of that we've had the entire time until literally 10 days ago was the Fed balance sheet runoff. Right? So on December 1st, you went from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, and that's going to pick up over the next year, which I think will create more bank balance sheet availability. And if there's not enough shelf space, so that, my barometer for this, you look at the 30-year mortgage, the spread between the 30-year and the 10-year Treasury should be 175 basis points. It's been as high as 300. Okay, right now we're tracking at 250, so there's an extra 75 basis points in there. So the 10-year Treasury doesn't really need to move that much for 30-year fixed rates to come down substantially. And so I think that's what will happen. I hope that's what will happen.
I'm talking about credit card rates.
Guys, this is so powerful. Because again, too, what Trump is doing with the economy, how we're growing it, how we're cracking down, the expectation was that we would be in a negative $59 billion in the trade deficit. Reality was negative $52 billion. Every single month, guys, we are doing better when it comes to the economy, putting America first, and it's just mind-blowing to see the Democrats crumbling right now when it comes to their policies, when it comes to how much they've broken the border, they've broken healthcare, they've broken... You can't even audit voter rolls because they don't want you to see. You can't even audit any of the federal governments because they don't want you to see how much money's been stolen, how much corrupt is out there. And what are we doing? We're exposing it all, guys. If you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, guys, give it up for our boy Chris Prez with another gifted 20 TrueLife News memberships. If you got a free membership from Chris, show him some love in the chat, everybody. What a blessing. If you thank you so much, brother, for your support. And guys, don't forget, if you're not a part of the family yet, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up like button, and don't forget our sponsor chapter, guys. This is a blessing to so many people. If you're turning 65 or you're on Medicare, but you're having a huge life change right now, call them up, be blessed. We've had too many people that have gotten so much blessings. I literally had somebody, because I love it when you comment your testimonials, from Stony Franklin that said, chapter saved me $1,400 a year on greatly upgraded policy, much better coverage, much cheaper. Thanks for the lead. Guys, this is what it's all about. It's a free service to you. So if you, like I said, if you're on Medicare, you're having some life changes, call them up. They're going to take care of you. The number is 667-895-3015. The number is also in the description of this video as well as the bottom of the screen. I want to give some special love to those that have given today, because remember, this is the month, our biggest giving month out of the entire year, given in the time of Christmas, especially to these children's homes where these kids don't have anybody, but they got our support. Give some special love to Sheila Halstead, our boy Chris Prez, OG of the channel, for 40 gifted memberships, guys. Show him some love in the chat. Thank you so much, brother Chris. We appreciate you. Our boy Richard, PDX67 with the 5 gifted memberships. Show Richard some love in the chat, as well as Robert Cash. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much, Milton Burns, for the super chat. Jim Barbato, OG of the family. Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, Joghaws, for the super chat. Melanie Hay, Nadine Jones, our boy Patrick Trebet. Thank you so much, Johnny Rodriguez, for the super chat. Guys, show them some love in the chat. Thank you so much for liking our videos, sharing our videos. We're here to serve you with the breaking news every single day, and it means the world to us that you support us. And that we're in this Christmas time season, guys, and I'm so thankful that we've created this community. We're growing our voice, and we just want to keep doing good in this crazy world. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.